Welcome. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, how was the holiday?
Oh, the holiday was good.
Yes. You're not entirely in focus.
No.
Also, there's some boxes over your shoulder. I
Yeah.
like the hat, by the way. That's a great look.
Thanks. It's my new, gimmick thing. So
Is it?
Yeah, I
I
thought
need
I'd start wearing a hat like this,
Right.
and it'd be like my thing. You know what I mean? And like in all the pictures and stuff, yeah,
That's a good idea. I should do something like that.
yeah. I think you should. I thought it'd be funny to just start the recording really
Right.
early, and actually it just means that I'm not prepared. And
Everything from the hat down, however,
yeah,
you could work on that bit.
yeah, yeah.
That's, like when you go past some of those old buildings in town with the scaffolding around,
Yeah.
that's just been there for years. And you get someone should really do some work on this thing.
Yeah,
That's you.
that's me, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I've often thought of myself as a bit of old scaffolding.
No. You're under the old scaffolding. The scaffolding's the old scaffolding. It might be old, it might be rusty, and there's a tattered sign hanging off of it and a few Tesco bags that the wind has thrown at it every now and then. But it's solid.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It's up to code. The building underneath, however,
Right, I get it, yeah.
window smashed, someone's peed in the corner.
Yeah.
At some point, the youths have been in there doing
Someone's written a
things that we
rude word on the wall, on the brick
There's
wall on the
almost
outside.
certainly a spray paint of a very large todger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with dots coming out the end.
And hairy bits on the scrotum part.
Yeah.
Of the todger.
Yeah,
You got
and
this
a good
spray-
vein as well.
Yeah, a good vein. Yeah, proper artwork there.
Yeah.
Would you like to... What?
Well,
Who?
should we start again?
Sure. Okay, you can edit this. We can edit this out.
We're going to edit this bit out.
Right, okay. We'll start again.
Start again,
And
right.
You could do the proper intro.
Yeah.
Like you're you're professional.
Okay, so I'll count us in, all right?
Okay, count us in. Do you know the count?
Well, I'll just move these down. And when
Right.
there's none left,
Yes.
then we'll start, okay?
Okay.
So... Is that a... That's one. Hey, welcome to the STC. My name is War Smith Chris, and this is Winter's SEO, and we're back again. We've both been on holiday, haven't we?
Well, mine was a while.
Yours
yes.
was-
Let's say yes. By
yeah,
the time
okay.
yes.
By the time this comes out, we've both been abroad. We're
Yes.
back and we're like, oh, all the stuff's happened and it's really exciting. And here we are,
Yeah.
ready for another podcast full of... What do we do? Law podcast, don't we? No, we do...
We sort of stopped doing that.
Yeah,
didn't
we
we
just-
I mean, we might go back.
Yeah.
You
It's, you know what? This podcast is about you. It's about us. It's about the people watching it, sitting down. We all sit down in a little circle. We have a chat about stuff, don't we? And there's a bit of Warhammer in there. There's a bit of cheese in there, which I'd like to point out.
What?
Are you a fan of Italian gorgonzola cheese?
Who isn't a fan of Italian gorgonzola? Call
bloody
the
lovely.
Inquisition if you don't like gorgonzola. Blue cheese, however, heresy.
Gorgonzola is fantastique, which is a blue cheese.
Is there blue cheese?
Yeah, it's got blue in it.
Is it?
Wait a minute, we're thinking about the wrong cheese.
Right. I'm going to have to Google gorgonzola now.
You Google that.
Well, we
and
can edit
I'll...
this bit out.
Yeah, we'll edit.
Or-
Yeah. We've edited the start bit out, so we've just
How do you
started.
spell gorgonzola?
Gorgonzol.
Gorgonzola is a well-known Italian blue cheese made from cows. Disgusting. I hate gorgonzola. Blue cheese is heresy. Right, let's start again.
Okay,
I'll
right.
count us down.
Count us in, and we'll start
Okay.
over again. Okay.
Raz, dva, tri, cztery, pięć.
Sorry, what, are you going to count us in, or?
I did. Yeah, okay. Ein, zwei, drei. If I do it in German,
Yeah, that
then
would-
you're definitely like,
Yeah,
the most romantic accent on the planet, apart from
Fünf.
Scottish.
4, 3, 2,
Six.
1. Yeah. Hi, welcome to the STC, and my name is War Smith Chris. This is Winter's SEO. This is a law podcast where we don't talk about law. We just talk about life. We just talk about what's going on in the world,
And
current
cheese.
affairs, cheese, all the politics.
Do you like mozzarella?
I love mozzarella. It doesn't. it's not a strong flavour, but I do like mozzarella.
It's not got much taste to it, but it's stringy.
It's stringy.
It can bind a lot of stuff. It's like the super glue of cheese.
Yeah, it's a binder. Yeah. It goes well with most foods.
Yeah,
pairs really well with like tangy tomato because it's quite a mild cheese flavour.
Do you think it would pair with pears?
I don't know. I don't think it would. I think you want more of a soft. I think brie would. Brie would work. Yeah.
Also a name.
It's also a name. Yeah. Mm. And if you know a brie, you'd probably like get hungry a lot talking to them. Like, hey, brie, and you go, oh, brie, fancy a bit of that. But not of brie, but brie.
Maybe you quite like,
or both.
Maybe you fancy a bit of brie as well.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
It depends. It depends how you roll.
Brie, depends how you roll.
Brie's a bit weird. She's cool, but she's weird. Not everyone's cup of tea. She's a little bit. She's really into anime.
Anime's not bad. Well, some anime's good. Some anime.
Yeah, but like really into
terrible.
It.
Like really into it.
Yeah, she dresses up as a starfish.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff. So, not sure about Brie.
Starfish, and she thinks Attack on Titan is like mid. She's like, oh no, that's noob stuff. No, that's not proper anime.
Yeah, because the only proper anime, by the way, is Berserk.
Is it?
Yeah, I think I've said that before on here. That's the only one. You're not generally allowed to like anime and also be like present in society. But if you do, it's because you only watch Berserk, or read the Berserk manga.
Right.
That's the best
bit like picking chewing gum up off the pavement. We know that your tastes in anything cannot be trusted. You don't put it in your mouth. Don't let Warsmith Chris pick any of your viewing pleasures, because they will be terrible.
I don't want to get into this because we have to go all the way back to the Ari Aster films, and we have to talk about why Midsummer is a great film and why I have excellent taste in films. And
I think Midsummer is one of those
great films.
It's like talking to people about Glass Onion. You can tell, that Glass Onion Knives Out stuff.
Right, yeah.
It's like an idiot test. Like the people who like it, idiots. There goes half the audience, possibly. But the people who don't like it are like, none of this makes sense. Every decision is contrived. It isn't a proper murder mystery. It's absolutely terrible. And Midsummer is like a level below that.
That's I don't even have anything to say to that because it's so objectively wrong. We're just, I'm playing chess with a pigeon here. You're the pigeon. Right. You're just stomping.
Pigeon, though.
Yeah, you're just stomping around all over the board, strutting about like you're winning, and I can't do anything about it.
Have you noticed how many pigeons have just got one leg? It occurred to me like in my 20s, and now it's a thing in my brain. Whenever I'm going down the street and looking at pigeons and things, there's a high number of pigeons with just 1 foot out there.
Do you know why that is?
I think it's probably because there's a pigeon who's selling prosthetics in a pigeon shop somewhere, making bank selling all the pigeon prosthetics to the other pigeons. That's why it's a scam, I tell you.
There is that. But also, there's a fox who's actually, he really likes pigeons, but he also loves pigeon leg as a meal. So what he does is he just takes one leg from each pigeon.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to, hurt them too much, and that's why there's so many with one leg. And then obviously he's in cahoots with the prosthetics guy.
Deep fried pigeon leg with some couscous and a sprig of barley.
I've got couscous for dinner later.
Have you? Couscous. It's one of those, it's supposed to be really healthy and things, but it doesn't really taste of anything. And it tastes of all the stuff that you put around it that absorbs into it, which makes the couscous bearable. But it's not, you don't see people slinging that back after a heavy night on a town, do you?
No.
You're like, I come home and I'll have a bowl of couscous. No, it's going to be a deep fried pizza or something, but not. What's with your couscous? What are you having with the couscous?
Beef hash.
Beef hash.
Yeah. That's it. It's a weird combo. It's a weird pairing. I'm not gonna try and defend it. It's just two things that I like that I'm having together because
I had chorizo pasta with the crispy onions and feta cheese.
I love a bit of that. I've got feta cheese in the Couscous, actually. It's a pre-made giant couscous and feta cheese thing from Sainsbury's. I just want to eat it.
Right.
So I bought it as well as we're cooking a beef hash, which is potatoes and slow cooked steak and in like a brownish sauce.
Well, who doesn't like hash?
It's I've got a question for you.
Yes.
In on your travels in Eastern Europe, have you ever come across a brand of bottled water called Borjomi?
No.
Okay. There is in Georgia. This is a little geography fact here, right?
Georgia,
there is
the proper Georgia, not
the proper
fake
Georgia. Yeah, the real Georgia country. There is a spring. It's a hot spring,
right?
That squirts water through loads of layers of rock and everything, and it gets very mineralized.
Okay.
And it comes out this like hot, bubbly water, right? Comes out of it that's very high in minerals, and it's called Borjomi. Like the place is called Borjomi, but the water, the spring is called Borjomi, right? And I didn't know this, but when the Russians first got hold of Borjomi, they were all drinking it, and they're like, "This is amazing. This it's like cures all problems.
Right.
It's like an amazing hangover cure.
Yeah.
It cured headaches and stomach upsets and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then in the Second World War, the Nazis took it over because the German officers thought like couldn't get enough of this water. They were like, "Oh, it's fixing all my problems. It's amazing." And it just comes out the ground in Georgia, and they bottle it up. And if you drink Borjomi, if you ever want to try this amazing tonic that cures everything and is like great, people today still say it's great for hangovers, great for sleep, great for settling your stomach and everything because it's so rich in minerals. Don't drink it at room temperature. That's an honest bit of advice. It tastes at room temperature like it's been strained through a sock of a marathon runner on a hot day at the end of the marathon into a gutter and then taken out with a dirty spoon by spoon into a bottle. It tastes like hot taxi driver sweat.
Right.
It is, if you drink it cold, perfect. It's great stuff. So it's just a bit of advice if you're ever going to buy the brand bottled water of Borjomi.
Salts in water. I don't know if you've been catching a live stream at all recently, but I have been talking about the minerals, the electrolytes in the water. It's a miracle cure. See, it's
that's what Borjomi is. It's full of the actual because that water is squirted through all those layers of rock and sediment and at high pressure because it's a hot spring. It picks up all kinds of stuff. It's got loads of minerals in it, but it does make it taste like bum holes. But that's the price.
Say squirted again.
Squirted?
No, like you did before.
How did I say it before?
You went squirted.
Squirted.
Yeah, that gets my nipples hard.
Squirted.
Oh, so,
yeah.
Well, we can edit this out, right?
Okay, yeah, we're editing
bit.
Right from the very start. I've got like 3 bits to edit now.
Cut that out.
3 bits.
Okay, right. So shall we do it again?
No, because
what?
Sorry, we're starting again.
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
3. I got to count down.
Okay, you do it.
Any more numbers that I know? What's French? How do you do
trois,
1, 2, 3 in French?
deux.
Trois. Why does French sound like people have got a little bit caught in the back of their throat like a hairball or something? Like they've been a cat licking their tail like that. Deux, trois. It's weird, isn't it?
It's the same with Germans as well.
What?
Germans sound like that. Yeah, verbals, yeah. Do you think we've got any listeners left? I think we've offended possibly all groups of people, and it's 14 minutes in.
I sometimes wonder why I do this, really, because it's basically inappropriate stuff.
Yeah.
Squirting in people's ears.
It's a negative.
No, let's say something positive.
No, this podcast is a negative growth product for your channel, right?
It is really, isn't it?
You lose 70 plus subscribers each episode.
Yeah.
You get -3 views.
Yeah.
They come to you and ask you to pay them ad revenue.
Yeah. I had people knocking on the door saying, why do you even put that up? Do you know why? The honest answer to that question is those people that leave, we don't need them.
Don't need them.
They got the wrong attitude. They've got the wrong taste. The people are staying. The people are still listening to this right now.
Yeah.
You're the real one.
You're the midsummer watchers. You're
not the midsummer watchers.
You're the guys who eat gorgonzola cheese and love it and love blue cheese. I love it. You're the best.
No, blue cheese is heresy. Why food should not be left to go moldy? That's just wrong.
Because all great things in life, like sourdough,
that's not moldy.
kimchi,
That's not moldy.
sauerkraut, it's fermented.
That's not moldy.
Yeah,
fermented food is nice.
Yeah, okay, but the idea of allowing food to mature in different ways, wine, beer, it's been there forever, and it's just blue cheese, just another form of that. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not that worried about the whole thing. I'm more worried about your taste in movies, which quite clearly needs an intervention. I know we've been doing 30 plus STCs right now. I'm trying to help you see the light.
We've mentioned Midsummer in about 15 of those 30 episodes as well.
Anyone in the comment section who's seen that movie, honestly, what is your opinion of it?
Yeah.
Put it in the... If you're still here after I
tell you what,
put it... Why?
16 minutes, 50 seconds. It's not going to be that because of all the editing, but that's how far we are into this session.
Yes.
If you've made it this far,
yes,
let's have the final Midsummer vote. It's a great film. I know it is. Put it in. Are you camp? Yes, Midsummer's a great film. Or are you in the wrong camp? Are you in the wrong side of history?
Midsummer, by the way. It's Midsummer.
Yes, I know it's Midsummer.
If you haven't seen it, then this is homework project for all you real ones who are still in the chat. After you've watched this, go and put Midsummer on, then come back, write a comment in the thing. And I'm sorry that I've made you watch that big plum turd.
It's got Florence Pugh in it. She there's a lot of crying and screaming.
Florence Pugh is in June. There's no doubt that the girl can act. But just because, look, people are in all sorts of things, it doesn't necessarily make those things good.
Have you seen Outlaw King?
No.
That's your homework project.
What is that?
Outlaw King. It's on Netflix. Right. Massively underrated film. Completely passing by. I didn't like the look of it.
No, I'm not actually going to watch this because I'll Google it first before I watch it because it's going to be crap.
No.
Have you seen The Penguin yet?
No, I haven't.
Have you started watching Mobland yet?
No, I haven't. Outlaw King. It's the story of Robert the Bruce.
Right.
It is fantastic. It's got Florence Pugh in it.
Yeah.
I just like Florence Pugh. She's good. And it's great. It's got that dude in it who looks like some other guy.
That guy.
He's actually pretty good in it.
I know that guy, yeah.
Yeah. It's a great film. And I think it was really, it's still under the radar, but it deserves a lot more attention. So
have you watched Sharknado yet?
No, I do intend to watch Sharknado.
Sharknado 1 and Sharknado 4, awesome.
And
2 and 3 are the weaker ones in the series, but the sharks in space is just...
Well, just for my own personal...
Obviously, my taste in movies is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. By the time we get to Sharknado 4...
Yes.
What's the premise at that point? Is there a new twist, or is that too much of a spoiler?
It is like a super... Well, see, Sharknado 4 is set after the super shark tornadoes that have ravaged the planet in the previous... It's like a Mad Max thing going on. There isn't much civilization left. There is a whole new premise. The plot moves forward, my friend. This is not static storytelling. It's like Game of Thrones, but with sharks. It's great.
Yeah.
And without a crap ending.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to move us swiftly on to some Warhammer. Not our main topic thing.
Right.
But just quickly, I know that you've discussed it on your live stream and stuff, but I want, for the people, because there's lots of people that don't watch the normal boring channel stuff. They only watch STC, right?
The real ones.
It's like a digest for them.
Yeah.
I've been a bit concerned about the current previews for Horus Heresy 3.0.
Okay.
how are you feeling about it right now? Because how are you feeling about it?
Well, I've done 2 full live streams on it, probably 3 by the time this comes out. So I'll condense it all down into 2 words: cautiously optimistic.
Okay. I saw the stat lines and I thought, that's a lot of abbreviations. That's a lot of letters.
Yes.
Is that going to help things? I don't know.
There's a lot of... All the weapons have got lots of letters now.
Yeah.
And there's more stat lines in the stat lines now.
Okay.
I'm hoping that all of these new things are a way of condensing a number of the rules, universal special rules, and special that are spread out. Because you've tried Heresy, you've gone through the tomes. It's not as bad as Necromunda with all the rules all over the place, but it's a bit impenetrable. So I'm hoping by putting stuff down on the weapons sheets and putting stuff down on the character sheets, then it makes those universal special rules more... Yeah. It could be a way of condensing some of the broader rules. It could be. Or it could be the fact that, hey, here's Heresy. People really like it. Let's add more rules to the rules. Because that's what Games Workshop rules writers like to do. They like adding rules on top of rules on top of rules, which is why no one plays Crusade, except for 2 people who jump into the comment section every time I say no one plays Crusade and shout at me. But apart from those 2 people, no one plays Crusade, because it's more rules on top of rules. So it could be rules on top of rules, but I'm cautiously optimistic that it isn't. Maybe, probably, maybe. The miniatures look great.
Yes, they do. You know what?
What?
My guilty pleasure is Saturnine pattern Terminators, because
I love it. I think it's awesome.
Like the old ones, the really, really old ones, and they were the most ridiculous looking guys ever.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept how ridiculous that is. And I know that they weren't designed for the Iron Warriors in the lore, but I'm looking forward to just finding a way to put them in with my Iron Warriors. Put
them in with your Iron Warriors.
Great.
It doesn't, in the lore, it doesn't. Everyone had this at the beginning of the Crusade.
They're changing things up.
One thing that your Iron Warriors definitely need is a plastic fell blade.
Yes. Why not? Do it.
They had all the guns.
Yeah.
Iron Warriors had the guns.
They did.
Yeah.
Talking of Iron Warriors, I don't think I've had a chance to talk about my I went to a Horus Heresy event.
Yep.
I was ill for the first day.
Were you?
Couldn't play.
Oh.
Had a terrible migraine. Had to stay in the accommodation. But then the second day, I got a very fun game against Just Craig, who you are well aware of. He brought the Alpha Legion against my Iron Warriors, and he did the thing. He did the thing which I hoped he wasn't going to do, and that is just don't shoot me. Just don't shoot Iron Warriors. Don't shoot them. You just weather the storm. You don't shoot them. They can't react back, and then you just play the points game. And whilst I was killing his stuff, bringing it down, he had lots more models that were dominating the board and capturing the objectives. And I realised at that point that my Iron Warriors were going to be too slow. And he'd taken out a few key bits. He disabled my Rhino really early on, took out my mobility, and then he just Alpha Legioned in all over the place, jetpacks and people hiding at the back and stuff. And the Iron Warriors, not being shot at and being too slow to do anything, lost some points. And
I was just talking to him just the other day, actually, about a report going up soon, or has been out just recently, where he's like, I'm not shooting a whole unit of Tyrant Siege Terminators, I'm not shooting them. Iron Warriors will just fire back twice at you. It's just, it sounds like you played someone who's been playing Heresy for a long time, and you've only just got into it, and he was playing the mission, and you were trying to shoot your guns.
I was trying to shoot my guns. Yeah. But what it has done is it means that I can expand out my Iron Warriors a little bit now. I've got a better idea of what's going to work. I know about point investment.
Yeah.
It feels like a good idea to put loads of points into Tyrant Siege Terminators, but sometimes they're just not going to get the work done. And you need some other things.
You need a Saturnine box with a Saturnine Dreadnought, Saturnine Terminators in it, a bunch of guys on foot in Mark II Crusade armor. They'll look really good in your army.
They will.
Fell blade. And then guns. They've got those drop turrets that drop down onto the battlefield. Guns. Rapier batteries. Guns. It sounds like you need more guns. You might need a little bit of movement, actually, because your thing, your right of war might change. We don't know about right of war yet. But your right of war is you can't do anything freaky. If you come on from reserve, you just have to roll in from reserve.
Yeah.
But any heresy list currently always works well with some scouts. I say scouts, recon squads, guys with shotguns or guys with snipers, particularly if you have problems with reserving.
Yes. So I'll tell you what, now I've got my armies ready. When 3 drops, we should definitely have a game of 3. We can have a look at how it changes things and a bit of fun. See what we can do with the Iron Warriors. Anyway, we're about halfway through our allotted time. We might as well talk about today's STC topic.
You say that like it's a burden.
I'm
quite looking forward to this one.
I'm really looking
about this one. You came up with the ideas for most of them. I came up with the idea for this one.
This is
yours.
going
to be fun.
And you know what?
Yes.
I got to hand it to you. This one was not a... Some of the other ones we've come up with, it's like, this, that. It got my noggin rolling, and I thought, wow, this is actually not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
Okay, so listen. So here's the thing. The topic is we're looking at making a little compact list of our 5 favorite GW games of all time from their entire range, right? Board games.
The games.
And I've expanded this without asking. I've expanded this to sort of editions as well because it does make a big difference.
Hero Quest,
they've re-released stuff,
Warrior, Dark Future, all these games. They've done so many games. Other than they don't just do 40k.
Yeah, they don't just do 40k
now, pretty much. But back in the day, they were a games workshop.
Yeah. And we're coming at it with 3 each because we're the de facto voice in the final word on this. We mashed them together to make the objective top 5, objectively best top 5, right?
We find out
and
which one of Chris's doesn't fit.
We find out which one
agree on my 3 and allow 2 of Chris's to go in there.
So we'll pick 3 of mine because I know what I'm talking about. And
apart from the fact he doesn't. And then it's not in any particular order either. It's not like which one is the top or the bottom. These are like recommended.
These are the cream
5
of the
out of 5. Must bang.
Problem with Winters is that he's from a different era, right?
What? I'm from the 1900s. Please be patient with me. You're from the 1900s as well.
I'm a lot younger than you by a long way, miles, hundreds of years younger than you. I just feel like I'm from an era where we better understood the games that we were playing. It was more established. You're from the era where you went straight from the stick and hoop, straight from the cup and ball to Warhammer. Maybe you didn't really understand it properly at the time. Maybe that will distort your opinion. You know, that's just all I'm thinking. That's how I'm going to preface this.
Cup and ball.
Cup and ball, hoop and stick, that kind of things that you had.
Right, that was a deep cut right there.
It was. It was a sick burn.
Yeah, conkers.
Yeah,
with conkers.
I mean, no, don't bring conkers into this. That's timeless classic.
Oh,
conkers.
Sorry.
Conkers teaches children the first feeling of losing something precious, right?
Yes.
Because you get your conker and you think that you've got the best conker.
Yeah.
And some people do special things to it. They like try and bake it or soak it in vinegar. Or they try and do this stuff,
vinegar.
and you're
soak in vinegar.
Dead proud of your conker, and you take it to school, and someone just hits it, smashes it to pieces in front of your eyes. It's your first real lesson that nothing great lasts forever. Appreciate it while it's there, and your precious things will crumble through your hands at some point like dust.
I'll tell you what, though. I went to school the other day and the kids were not playing conkers.
No? Well, they're playing Digimons.
No, there's a Warhammer club, local school. I was invited. It was like a celebrity. It was very, very exciting.
I'm very glad that we established a legitimate reason for you to be at school. Because I was starting to worry there. It's like, what?
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yep. Okay, so I tell you what.
5 Games Workshop, games of all time.
This is your one.
Do you want to pit? What? You want me to swing with the first pitch?
Opening salvo from the man Winters himself. Let's go.
Okay. One of the top 5 games that Games Workshop have ever produced of all time is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Not Dungeons & Dragons, not White Wolf, Vampire the Masquerade. Warhammer fantasy roleplay. I have to say that Death on the Reich, the expansion number 2, was a seminal piece of work. John Blanche art all over it.
Yeah.
The setting in the old world, fantastic. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is definitely one of the top 5 games I've ever produced. Whatever happened to it, don't know. Of course, you couldn't play direct Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay rules. You had to house rule it a little bit because it was complicated. They decided, like, Games Workshop rules writers, here's D&D, let's make it more complicated. So you had to house rule it a bit. But apart from that, it was a great game.
So I had the pleasure, let's say, of playing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay in school for a few sessions.
Wow.
Me and a friend of mine, I apologise if it was more, whoever it was. There was a few of us. I think we all played halflings. We thought it'd be funny to be halflings. Right. And there was another, I think we did try it another time as well. It's cool. I absolutely adore the old world lore, the old world setting. I bloody love John Blanche more than anything. John Blanche is just a beautiful human being. I didn't really have enough time with it to say why I'd like it more than Dungeons and Dragons, though. Apart from, the setting is great. But then I get the setting out of reading the old Gotrek and Felix books and things like that. So why, as a game, because we're talking about games, does it come into the top 5?
I've done other role plays. I've been 20 years of role-playing games for me, easily. Lots of different systems. So I buy all sorts of games. Of all the ones I did, it was the most immersive, probably because of the setting, probably because we had to house rule it a little bit. I just remember Death on the Reich. It's good.
Yeah,
I'd like to marshal my argument better with Napoleon.
Yeah,
with all on the hill, ready to charge down to you like a tsunami.
Yeah.
Of Korean K-pop dancers, but
unless it's
why
Waterloo.
the Korean K-pop dancers are hanging out with Napoleon, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm getting BTS vibes all of a sudden. But
okay,
yes,
right,
that's all I can say. It was just good.
Had you been reading? Was there any? Were the novels starting to come out at that point?
No.
So I know that some of the novels were out in the 80s.
There was a Bolter and Chainsword, and there were short stories in.
There was the
White Dwarf,
the Vampire Genevieve.
Then there was
stories.
Some short stories and some other stories that were published by non-Black Library things, which gave them but there wasn't Gotrek and Belix then.
Okay,
there was nothing.
Well,
basically, if you wanted stories about the old world other than Bolter and Chainsword and stuff in White Dwarf, you made them yourself.
Yes, no, I get that, and I'd say if I was to play like a heresy role-playing game today, or
I
a
did
40k one, I think I'd enjoy it a lot more because I've got so many reference points for the world that I already, if the DM's not that great at describing it, I can already see it. I know what my Warhammer looks like. It's not quite the ones that you see in games and stuff, but it's close. I was wondering whether
in the role play, we went to a game of Blood Bowl and participated in a Blood Bowl pitch invasion.
Okay. I mean, that's not part of the same
RPG
actual universe, but
it is. Blood Bowl is set in the old world.
No, it's set in an alternate version of the old world where war is settled on the pitch and they don't go to war with each other.
Well, it might have been set in the old world back in the day. It certainly was in the world that we made.
Okay, all right, that's cool. So you're going to, I think that's a good contender for something that I can push out later on. So
have you ever participated in a Blood Bowl pitch invasion?
In real life, no. No, I wish I had though. I'm glad you did it. Who were the teams? Who was playing?
I can't remember now. It's such a long time ago. I just remember the fighting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Lovely. And the atmosphere and the crowds waving and the flags and the banners and everything.
I like that. It's a sweet thing that's stuck in your
and
mind.
A little bit of wolf nipple ships, get them while they're lovely.
Ooh,
that sort of thing. That's a Monty Python reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another clue as to your age as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What?
that's great. I'm glad you came in with that because it's fairly weak. I'm going to come in.
RPG of all time.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough, but it's still pretty weak. It's a copy of something else. It's it's building on Dungeons and Dragons has kind of set the stage for it.
Have you know that all of Games Workshop IP is 100% original?
Yeah, I know.
And if you try and they'll sue the ass off you if you try and copy of their wholly original IP.
They invented the words Space Marine. Do you know that? They invented
plastic.
Yeah.
There was no plastic before Games Workshop.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come in with something that I think, when it came out, was revolutionary. It was fantastic.
Like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Oozing with flavour and lore and a totally new perspective. I was there at the Games Day when they released Necromunda First Edition, right? The original Necromunda, the books, the source books and everything were fantastic. We were seeing a side of 40k that we hadn't really explored before, right? You got your 40k, massive planetary battles, bow, 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 bow. But what about the guys on the ground? What about the little guys who aren't out there in the wars? What's happening there? Well, it turns out their life is equally as trash, right? They're living in these horrendous hive spires and they're miles tall and they're like mega. As a big fan of Judge Dredd, by the way, this really got me as well. They're like these mega cities and they're run by gangs and we get flavors for all the different gangs. We've got all these rich people who live at the top. And then when you get down to the ground level, you go down into the Underhive. And the Underhive is the setting of this game, Necromunda, where in the hive of Necromunda, you fight out gang wars for territory and stuff, right? This was the first time I'd seen so much emphasis on the persistent campaign, right? You build your gang, you name them, you give them weapons, you arm them however you want. You send them into these gang fights. Sometimes they get a leg off. Sometimes they do something amazing and get an amazing headshot and score extra points and stuff. And at the end of the game, you don't just put them all back in the case. No, you've got a whole phase, like a semi-roleplay phase, where we're going off into the Underhive, we're trading, we're bartering for stuff, we're buying bits and pieces, we're tooling our people up. Our guys are gaining new experiences. They're going to the doctor and trying to get their gammy arm sorted. And, the outcome could be that your best shot in your gang loses an eye. And you have to work with that because it's expensive. Everything's expensive. I think it was the first really immersive narrative experience for Warhammer in a Warhammer setting that could... gave you loads of control and loads of excitement. And you could mix in a bit of role-playing into that as well. You could do if you wanted to. You could be your gang leader and, if you wanted to go down that route. We did things like we had a graveyard going where all the lost gang members would be in there and we'd have fun. Oh, do you remember that time that I killed your really expensive heavy with an auto cannon on the first turn? There he is up on the board. Yeah,
right.
Great.
Yeah, Necromunda is one of those games that Games Workshop still support. It's got a massive following still.
But
lots of people who love the Necromunda.
I have to caveat this, right? Necromunda First Edition is not the same game as Necromunda Second Edition, the revived Necromunda. Now, I think it's fantastic they revived Necromunda. I'm fully on board with it. I'm glad they did it. They're doing the thing now where they're kind of going way out there. It's all about like lorries and bikes and stuff. They're trying to take it out into the wasteland stuff, which is great if you're following Necromunda. The rule books are objectively the worst written rules I think Games Workshop have ever put out for second edition Necromunda. They are
impenetrable,
abysmal. The layout and the books themselves, they reference rules that are in other books or 15 pages away that you need to know. And they're terrible. The game itself is a good bit of fun. I don't think it's particularly... I think they've gone a bit too far with certain elements of it. I liked the fact that back in Necromunda version 1, everyone was just a human until they weren't, right? In this one, they've tried to change the stats around a bit, so like the Goliath are a bit tougher and they got more armor and things like that. In the first edition, you were just men in different clothes, men and women in different clothes, who could take different... The skill tree changed the flavour of your gang. But for the most part, you're just people fighting for survival. And it was down to your placement and your positioning and how you navigated the board is how you got your advantage, not like a stat advantage, not a my dice roll is objectively better than you. Until later in the campaign when you had snipers and whatnot who had better ballistic skill. But everyone was on an even playing field and you had to play the game to win it. You know, you had to choose how you were gonna try and outnumber individuals and pick them off. Or it's great. I think it's a fantastic game. Necromunda First Edition. It's dated now. It's very dated. I wouldn't recommend trying to get into it now. But at the time, it was so good. It deserves. I think it deserves a
top 5. I mean, you gave about 3 reasons in that really, really, really long and boring rundown.
No, that's a great
why
rundown.
It was bad.
No, I think you're upset because of what I said about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and I think you're going to be belligerent now. I think
Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is one of the greatest role-playing games of all time.
Okay.
It started a 20-year role-playing splurge for me. It's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay helped define the old world before the old world was defined.
Okay.
It's before the Black Library. All the lore and the bits that built the whole thing, which built the entire company, came out of the role-playing books, because it certainly wasn't in the game. It wasn't in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. It wasn't in that. There was bits in that. Obviously, there was quite a lot of bits in that. But the bulk on top of it. But yeah, Necromunda, I mean, come on. It's a great game.
Yeah.
And they brought it back after it died of death, because first edition wasn't that good. And it's well supported to this day, but one of their best games they've ever done, Necromunda.
Yeah.
It's impenetrable slot if you want to try and get into it. You need a Necromunda veteran to play Necromunda with. Otherwise, you can't play Necromunda because you just have to make up your own house rule it.
Not the first edition. The first edition was enough. Us kids could play easily. It was fine. Second edition is a different ball game. And this
Necromunda came out around the same time as Space Hulk, and you're putting Necromunda in the list without putting Space Hulk in the list.
That's exactly what I'm doing, because Necromunda is like the grandfather of those skirmish games, those skirmish size games where you could really lean into the narrative with like 10 models. Fantastic.
I think it's a good game.
Yeah.
But Space Hulk's better, and Space Hulk isn't even on my list. Space Hulk is a fantastic game.
Space Hulk is a fun board game. It's one-dimensional.
What?
It's not the best. No, you know what? I'm not even going to...
With their totally original IP, right? They had this idea of Marines with motion sensors fighting aliens down corridors. Completely original. And out of this completely original IP, someone kind of copied it and made a movie like Starship Troopers. They copied the Games Workshop, and then out of that came Tyranids and things, which is completely original, not copying.
Well, the book Starship Troopers, which was written a long time before, had the audacity to, in advance, steal the name Space Marines for the fighters, which is really rude of.
Whereas Necromunda didn't steal anything. Corpse starch is a fantastic idea.
I love that. I love corpse starch, Don't know where that could possibly come from.
You wouldn't have any with the couscous, though, would you?
No, you wouldn't, no. But yeah, you know, it's completely original and was probably the first skirmish game ever. There you go. There was probably never a skirmish game, a narrative-led skirmish game before Necromunda.
probably never a narrative. Well, then it's got to be in the top 5. Then
Exactly.
It was wholly original IP.
Wholly original, first
been a
ever
skirmish
of its kind, first ever idea.
Game. Didn't Blood Bowl come out beforehand? And that's a skirmish
That's
game.
not a skirmish game.
It
No,
is a skirmish
that is
game.
not a skirmish game. No way that
It
it's that a
is.
skirmish game. No,
It's
not.
basically you're fighting each other over moving.
You're not fighting, you're playing a game of football.
Yeah,
and
you're fighting.
The side effect of that is sometimes extremely violent
Can we get
tackles.
on to my second thing then?
Your second one, sir.
My second one. The greatest board game of... We've all played board games.
We
We've
all
done
have.
Risk, Monopoly, Chainsaw Warrior. We've all played board games.
Yeah, we played Chainsaw Warrior, yeah.
The greatest board game of all time.
Warhammer
Talisman.
Quest.
That's a really good one. And I thought about, because I wanted to put in the top, I wanted to put in my top 3, which one do I put in there? Warhammer Quest.
Yeah.
Which one? Because I had them both.
I've got to admit something here.
What?
I've never played Talisman.
Well, then I win. Then
I don't
that's
know
clear.
anything about Talisman.
You
I know
have to-
that it's a real board game with no miniatures.
You have to defer to my wisdom and
do
my
I?
knowledge and things. Yes.
Or do I say if I've never even heard
my
of it?
taste in movies, and my tastes are absolutely not to be questioned.
Yeah.
And then you're talking to someone that you love and respect
Yeah.
and admire, and someone who you look up to, someone who you
Yeah.
think is a tactical genius. You're talking to the 2021 No Retreat Legend of Legends.
That's true.
Champion. You're talking to someone who's quite frankly awesome.
Yeah.
You're talking to someone who's great at parties.
Yeah.
And who knows the Warhams. I've been
Yeah.
hard
You do
on
know the
Warhams.
Warhams. Yeah.
And in my decision, do I put Blackstone Fortress? Do I put Curse City? Do I put Warhammer Quest? Do I put that? Where do I put a board game in there? Yes, so you have to put a board game in the top 3.
Well, let me say something.
It's Talisman.
can
It's
I-
Talisman. Greatest board game of all time. Second edition, even better.
I'm sure it's a great board game. But in a minute, I'm going to want you to explain why Talisman is better than Warhammer Quest, because
Right.
Warhammer Quest, obviously, Curse City, Blackstone Fortress, they are just different Warhammer Quest variants, right? Slight changes here and there. I love Curse City's theme, and I love the characters in it, and everything is great bit of fun. I think Warhammer Quest games are a great, sit down with friends thing.
Yep.
Play a game with some friends when there's no stakes, you're not against each other, there's no tension, it's all about...
Well, I'll give you a couple of reasons why it's better.
Yeah, go on.
Because there's Warhammer Quest, absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
But there's another board game, which is not a Games Workshop game, called Descent, which is basically a clone of Warhammer Quest, and it's better. So there's Warhammer Quest, then there's Descent, which is a better Warhammer Quest. Warhammer Quest, like a lot of these board games, suffers from replayability. It is fantastic, but there's only so many times you can play it.
Yeah.
Talisman is a unique experience every single time. We still play it.
Who's we?
We still have Talisman.
You got a mouse in
evenings,
your pocket?
The SEOs. We still have Talisman evenings a couple times a year. It is
That's
an
cool.
absolutely fantastic game. Of course, being a Games Workshop game, you have to house rule it a little bit. So you've got 2 basic stat lines, strength
Yep.
and willpower. I think the second one's willpower. It might be, yeah, it is. And the red one and the blue one, that's how strong you are at close combat, how strong you are at psychic fighting. And they're unlimited. You can go as high as you can get higher and higher and higher and higher.
Okay.
But we cap that at 12. Your natural strength and willpower at 12. You might be able to get to strength 13, strength 14, strength 15 in combat with certain magical items and swords and things. But we cap that at 12 because, Games Workshop rules. You need a little bit of a house rule in there. But apart from that, greatest board game of all time. And Descent is better than Warhammer Quest.
So what do you do in this board game?
You fight for the Crown of Command.
Okay. I've seen the board. It's like a
Yes.
classic. It's like Snakes and Ladders, isn't it?
So you're supposed to randomly draw a card. So we used to pick, but these days you just randomly. What we do is a little bit of a house rule here. Is you shuffle the character deck and you pick a card, I pick a card, and play with that, right? But we don't do that. House rule is we pick 3 cards each.
Yeah.
And of the 3 cards you pick, you can pick which character you want to be. Whether you want to be the assassin, whether you want to be the enchantress, whether you want to be this,
Right.
whether you want to be that. And you go around the board beating up other characters or encountering things on the board, adventure cards, going into the city. Because it's got expansions as well. You can go into the city, you can go into the dungeon, you can go into the timescape, that's second edition, and encounter stuff on the board or encounter stuff on the card decks, which will level up your character, which allows you to get into the center of the board, where the aim of the game is to kill all of your opponents and take the crown.
Okay.
Of command.
There was a Horus Heresy skinned version of Talisman.
Relic, yeah. There was a Space Marine Relic was Talisman, but in Space Marine clothes, and then they did the Heresy version of. They changed it a little bit. They introduced Fate dice in there, which was re-rolls. It's Games Workshop, so
you got to have a re-roll.
You got to have some re-rolls in it.
Yeah.
So we played Relic, the crap out of Relic as well. No expansions came with that, so we didn't do that. And the Heresy one, no expansions with that, so we didn't do that. The modern version of Talisman expanded the board. It gets it really big with the biggest, so you need a giant table to go on it. The second edition one you could actually fit on a smaller table. You could get turned into a toad.
Nice.
You could actually turn people into toads.
Yeah.
It's it's really good.
It sounds like a board game to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Random weird stuff would happen.
Yeah.
It's just, and you can laugh and have fun as friends and get very drunk playing it.
So
and replay, but no two games are the same.
Okay. Before I cut through that, I need to wait to find out what your third one is.
Okay.
So I've got a comment that I'd like to make already.
Throw it at me.
Well, no, because I need to know what your third thing is. So I'm going to say my third pick.
Your third pick.
Yeah.
These are not in order. These are just
my third one of the evening. Third and final pick of the evening.
You've only given me one so far.
I?
Necromunda.
Yeah, I've only given you Necromunda. My second pick for the evening.
Yeah.
What was my second pick? 8th edition Index Era 40k. Right? I know that it might not be the best 40k you can play, right? I know that off the bat. 5th edition was my initial choice, right? I think that 5th edition was a great tabletop war game. But I had to pick 8th edition Index Era 40k because it showed something about Games Workshop, and it showed something about the game of 40k. It showed that if you take away all of their ridiculous ambitions, you take away all their need to sell books and add-ons and constantly change things, at the very core of it, 40k could be a fun tabletop war game. Maybe not super competitive, maybe not super in-depth, but I think 40k Index, 8th edition Indexed Era, proved that you could actually just play a game of 8th and have a bit of fun, right? And I liked that about 40k. I liked seeing that they were capable of doing a game that was streamlined, and the rules were streamlined. They were so much more streamlined than many things that have come before it. Do you agree that it was probably the most streamlined edition?
Oh yeah, it was the most. 8th edition was the accessible edition.
Yeah,
and it was the most popular edition of Warhammer 40k ever. It was also the most balanced edition. The tournament things that we've got on Best Coast Pairings go back to 8th edition, and the win rates and loss rates in Warhammer 40k were much closer then than they are now.
Yeah.
So it was better for all the tournament jank, and I'm glad one of us put 40k in the top 5 games of all time that Games Workshop have ever made, because I didn't.
Yes. No, it was a hard pick.
I was hoping that you would.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's not the first. The truth is, it's not the first thing you go to when you think about GW games. It is the biggest thing, and it's the most involved thing, and the lore and everything is.
8th edition Warhammer 40k, very accessible, very quick, very easy. You brought loads of people back into the hobby, and it was fun.
Yeah,
they turned up the fun juice in that one.
Yes,
and then they ruined it in the second half with the Vigilus campaign. But like they do,
they turned down the fun. Quite significantly. at that
let's
point.
add in this book and that book and that book and that book. And yeah, it was 8th edition for Warhammer 40k was just good.
And also going from the indexes to the amount that they changed in the codexes was insane as well. It put some real horrendous imbalance between guys who had their codex and guys that were still running on the index. And you didn't have like a nice selection of strats like in 10th, the pre-codex stuff. You had your one, I think everyone had one strat in the index, didn't they? Or like one,
I don't know.
It wasn't a strat, it was like one special army ability. Yeah, it was an army ability. Because strats were the new thing that they were bringing back in.
But at least there was just like 2 pages of strats and that was it.
Yeah.
But Space Marines didn't have strats for every single detachment.
Yeah.
Space Marines had their strats.
Yeah.
And then the different flavors of Space Marines you wanted to do.
And again, a bit like Necromunda first edition, where it was all just humans fighting each other, human stat lines, blah, blah, blah. You could easily learn what every army did because it was all there, right? It was all there in the indexes. And I think and then to win the games, you didn't rely on having, is my codex newer? No. I'm not saying that that's how it works, but I'm saying that you didn't have to rely on things that added into the game that your opponent might not be aware of or didn't understand it fully.
They had 6 basic missions in the main rule book, like Heresy does now and Old World does now, so nice, straightforward. And they had Maelstrom of War cards. Yeah. Which is basically non-tournament play cards. Like
Maelstrom was great.
And they had Open War at the same time.
Yeah.
So you could play Maelstrom, or you could play... They had a deck for a bit more... and a deck for, hey, here's asymmetrical warfare, here's attack and defend, or here is your mission, here is how you score, and here's a special rule, go. Yeah. Open War deck. It was it was a fantastic time.
It was an elegant time. Yeah.
It was an elegant time.
An elegant system. And it proved that they could do it if they wanted to.
Like a lightsaber.
They could weapon. Yeah. But they could. It shows they can make a game that's just fun if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it deserves to be up here.
It's definitely up there, unlike Necromunda.
Ooh, spicy.
So my top pick, or the one that I've got to shout out the most, while we're talking about war games themselves, actual tabletop games where you gather armies together. If we're talking about the top 5 Games Workshop games of all time, you know, I've been in the Warhams for as long as there's been the Warhams. Yeah. The game, it's nice to be this old and discover something that is... Because normally when you play games and you get older and older and older and video games and things like that, you remember Halo, you remember Dead Space, you remember Bioshock the first time, and then you look at video games today and you think, but video games today are a great big pile of pants compared to that stuff back there. But then if you go too far back, you end up in Pong. Yeah, so not Pong or Pac-Man. Pac-Man, you know, there was a window, and that window is typically a teenage and early 20 years, and then everything outside of that is shite. But no.
I will say...
You can get old. What, gone?
I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't want to divert too far into that, but I think that age, that era of gaming really did produce the best stuff, because all they're trying to do now is re-release it.
Well, I think that era of gaming did produce a lot of stuff as well, because it was a lot of pre-internet or early internet before, I mean, when you only had dial-up and stuff like that. So games that came out had to be finished, be it a board game, a computer game, a thing, had to be, that package that they shipped you needed to sell.
That was it, yeah.
And now with the internets, the package that they can ship you can be an alpha test, can be slightly things. Or Games Workshop, for example, with all the Minotaur and Field manuals, data slate updates, thingy blah. We get books now from Games Workshop, which are fixed and points change on day of launch.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
I dislike that. Yeah.
Yes. So something to do with the era of games, something to do with the time, and then you get older and you get this.
Do you want to get to the game that you want to talk about?
Horus Heresy 2.0.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, all right.
It is the best. I've played lots of war games, and we're talking war games here, not just games, from lots of different systems in my 50 plus years on the planet. And the one that comes to life the most when you are playing with, so we'll qualify it. I'll qualify it. It's a Games Workshop game, so you have to bring in a few house rules. So you can't go up against a whole Dreadnought army.
Yeah.
If someone's bringing a Primarch, you need to bring a Primarch.
Yeah.
So so apart from that, if you're playing someone who knows the system well and knows their army well,
Yeah.
and you're playing it and you know the system well and you know your army well, and you both read the Heresy and you both enjoy the Heresy, the books just come to life. And sometimes the books don't even come to life. Sometimes the battlefield just comes to life. I honestly have had almost trans-dimensional experiences. There's one on the channel, 60,000 views now, the best game of Horus Heresy I ever played, from James from marchofwar.co.uk. And halfway through that, I remember turn 2, turn 3, I almost put the phone down and stopped recording it because I was having such a good time.
Yeah.
Such a good time playing that game and all the stories that were erupting across the battlefield. When my tanks get immobilized and something blows up and destroys my Praetor and that army that was going to, that force that go, when bad stuff happens to me, it's lovely. When that breaks and falls back, the dice are telling the story. Mortarian fails, got battle report with the thing where he fails a 1-inch charge. That happens. It's hard to get into initially. The barrier for entry is quite high for this war game because the rules are quite complex and deep. But once you get there, it's easy to master because your Legion's stuff is the same as my Legion stuff. And also the barrier for entry, not just the war game, is much, much higher as well. If you really want to immerse yourself into it, you kind of got to read the whole of the Horus Heresy. And there's a couple of books. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's 2 or 3 books, and then you'll have it done. Just 2 or 3.
Can I interrupt you there?
So it's a short book series, but it's a fantastic war game. Go on.
So one of the great things about Horus Heresy is you're playing the Marines. The enemy's playing the Marines. And the only difference between those Marines is the amount of lore that you have consumed in the books, right? Because it adds so much to what you think about those Marines, whether mine's silver and yours is black, but you got all these stories that you know about.
Yeah.
Remember when I said in Necromunda, the thing that made Necromunda was the fact that everyone's a human with the same stat line, and it's the things that you add on afterwards that make... I think there's something to that. Winters, I think we're starting to see a pattern here that when you give 2 people equal forces with a little bit of flavour sprinkled in, you might have a better game. Yeah? Because obviously Necromunda First Edition is like definitely in the top 5 greatest games from Games Workshop. And we're saying Horus Heresy 2.0 is as well.
I don't...
Coincidence?
No. It's not. It's that. See, you're trying to say that a war game, where there are Primarchs and there are tanks that blow up, and that you can start and end in a sitting, is comparable to your skirmish game, where you need 8 books to play, and you need to have played about 20, no, not even that.
Stop.
At least 24 games of Necromunda before you even know what you're doing.
Stop.
And also, it's not about one game of Necromunda. Necromunda is about increasing your territories. You can't just play a game of Necromunda and then go away and come back and play another gang of Necromunda, and then go away and come back and play another gang of Necromunda. That's not what Necromunda is all about. Necromunda is all about the territories, is all about the overall story, is all about the Heresy is not that. It's completely different. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, this is the beauty of it, though, because Heresy is the grand scale, the great war, the huge conflict. And you can go all the way down, zoom in, keep scrolling on the mouse wheel, in, until you get to what's happening. That's all going on the outside. Excuse me, camera. That's all going on the outside, but what's happening to the people that are living in the midst of that great narrative. I mean, I'm not going to argue against Horus Heresy 2.0 being in. I agree with that. The same way that 40k should be in there. Horus Heresy, I really, really wish 2.0 could be given a few more years to like simmer like they did with Horus Heresy 1.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're so quick to try and change things.
Money.
They're bloody annoying.
It's really successful.
Yeah.
How do we make more money? Let's do a new release.
You see, the old world feels like a first edition of a game that needs to be fleshed out. Horus Heresy definitely feels like they've got there. We can leave it for now. We can let it simmer.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that only played Horus Heresy version 1. They did not play 40k. It's been growing very slowly, the idea of committing to Horus Heresy. Now they're supporting it with the models properly. I think it's a great game. I'd love to play more of it. I really hope that we enjoy playing 3.0 and that it's not going to take away from that. And if it's not, maybe you could just stick to your guns and be, this is a Horus Heresy 2.0 channel. Come here if you're 2.0.
I've always played the edition of Warhammer in front of me. I always have. Okay. Even when I preferred it. But I've said on live streams, and I say now, that I'll give it a good go.
Yeah.
But 2.0 is so good that 6 months down the line after the launch, there might be 2.0 battle reports appearing again because I like it so much.
Well, that's the thing. There's no reason why you can't do both. You could have some 3.0 stuff, and then you can have 2.0 stuff.
There are YouTube channels out there doing like second edition Warhammer 40k.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that could be...
It's cool now to do that. It's cool to play second edition.
All sorts of shit on the channel, including this.
Yeah, so, exactly. If you could put this on Windows SEO, you could put a bloody 2.0 battle report.
What's your top choice? What's your top choice?
My top choice is everyone's top choice. It's correct. Don't even try and argue against it. It's the best game produced by Games Workshop. And it's barely changed. It has changed a little bit. It's barely changed since the 80s when it came out. It's Blood Bowl, okay? And let me tell you why Blood Bowl is...
Original skirmish war game before
it's not a
Necromunda.
No, it is a fantasy football game simulation on the table. It's a board game. It's played on a board. You don't measure in inches or anything. You move on squares because it's a grid. Blood Bowl has probably provided me with the most genuine fun at being really bad, right? So Blood Bowl is a game where you can actually play a team that is designed to be absolutely atrocious. Like the stats, everything on them is just garbage. Yeah, gnomes. I play ogres, right? You get 4 or 5 ogres on the pitch and you think, oh, this is going to be great. No. And the rest of your dudes are strength 1 nobblers, right?
Right.
And then you go to make your big play and you roll the dice and your ogre's forgotten that he's playing fantasy football. He's forgotten that he's playing Blood Bowl. And he stands there and he's like, what? He loses all his tackle zones. Yeah. And then the elf just runs straight past him and you just laugh.
Play against the elves. The elves are for people who are starting Blood Bowl.
Elves are for people who haven't quite grasped Blood Bowl yet, that the idea is to have a great time. Yeah. And just do the most ridiculous games of stuff. When I play Blood Bowl with my ogres, my goal is to kill an elf, right? That's what my ogre team goes in there. It's like, oh, let's try and kill an elf. Because they can't pick up a ball. They can't catch a ball. If I'm very lucky, I can throw a nobbler who's holding the ball into the end zone. He might also die. Yeah. That's something to point out. Yeah. It's a game that's always stuck to its roots of being fun.
It's so good they haven't... When's the last time they actually did touch the rules?
They have for the latest edition. They tweak it. They tweak the rules, but not greatly. It's always roughly the same. It's always the block dice. They haven't
such a massive following as well.
Yeah.
That's why they keep releasing miniatures for it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a massive following. I think they've tried to kill it. Like they've tried to kill a bunch of specialist games. Like they killed More Time recently.
They killed More Time,
which that was a massive game. But they've tried to kill Blood Bowl and bury it. And Necromunda, but they keep on coming because they're just so good.
So Blood Bowl continued to be supported in tournaments all the way through the point where it was unavailable from the store. People built an online platform to play Blood Bowl. Yeah. Online on like a 2D grid, because people weren't just going to let it go. And thankfully, Games Workshop realised that actually this really was something that they shouldn't abandon. And
a bit like Old World. And
a bit like Old World, yeah. More Time, the jury's out on it. It's based on a very old Warhammer Fantasy rule set. Tomas Perrinen's gone on to create his own thing now, the Trench Crusade, and he's criticised More Time a little bit in the past as well, saying that it is an old game, things like that.
A bunch of them made Trench Crusade. You know?
Yeah.
It's not just him.
It's not just him.
No.
So check that out if you liked More Time. But I think Blood Bowl really is a testament that it's barely changed. It's still they're still continuing
as well when you do the season thing.
Yeah,
you play for a whole season, and then you've got your little knob gobbler, or your troll, and you put all your XP in him, and he's a bit quicker, and he's got dodge, or maybe he's got catch. He can actually catch the ball, and then he survives the season without a serious injury. And you start the next season, and you realise you have to pay him 3 times as much now, and you're like, oh.
Or a troll goes to throw him and just eats him by mistake.
Yeah.
Because he gets hungry. And I think that's the rule, gets hungry or something. It's just a great game. And they keep releasing stuff.
It's a skirmish war game.
It's not a skirmish
because you're trying to fight each other with a move and objective. Is essentially what it is.
You can't, no.
That's what I explain it to people. Like, Sultan's like, why is it so good? Because Sultan's never played Blood Bowl. And I'm like, it's a war game. But it's like you're punching
if you're trying to trick someone, then you could call it a war game.
That's what it is at its core, though. Because you are pushing.
That's a sports game because you still only win if you score touchdowns.
Well, you can win by beating people up.
You can.
And not scoring. How many games of Blood Bowl have you played where it's 0-0?
I'm too good for that. That never happens.
Right. Okay.
I went through a period where I only played Blood Bowl.
Right.
I got good at Blood Bowl. I'm not nearly as good as I was when I was in my peak of playing.
I think there are hidden depths of strategy to that game.
It's a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
I initially started off playing humans. So me and my housemate at the time, we split the box.
They're good.
He was playing orcs. Orcs are much more fighty than humans. I couldn't understand why on earth you'd ever play humans. I was like, these orcs just beat me up. Trust me, like, if you ever get into Blood Bowl, every team has a way to win. Yeah. Every team can be strong in the right hands.
Humans can throw and catch, which is something orcs can't
Humans
do.
can play the ball game, and they play the ball game, and they feed players to orcs who get to punch one person. Loads of depth to it.
Like a war game.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like a war game, fine. But all I'm going to say is that Blood Bowl, I think, is not just one of Games Workshop's greatest games, but I think it's among the great games that have come out. Things like Carcassonne.
Okay.
It's among the great games of the world.
That's a good litmus test. I like that, Warsmith Chris. I like where you've gone there. You cracked the ice, you went down, and you said not only is Blood Bowl one of the top, but it's one of the great games ever.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Talisman is there as well.
I'm just going to have to take your word for it. If you're saying that Talisman sits alongside Carcassonne and Settlers of Catan and things like that.
I don't know what these things are, but if you're saying that Blood Bowl is one of the great games, I'm telling you that Talisman is one of the great games of all time.
Fine.
As well. And I'll agree with you on the Blood Bowl thing. They've tried to kill it. It won't die.
It won't die. And it just gets stronger.
Everyone who's played it more than once, everyone who's put some time into it, like played 3 or 4 or 5 games, just finds it fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's supposed to make you smile.
Yes.
The first time that were you playing with a noob and you push their dude into the crowd.
Yeah.
No. You don't get an armor check. It's straight to injury. They get the crap beaten out of them. You're in the crowd.
The first time that you go up against a team of goblins and you're beating them up and you're like, this is great. And then your best player goes down. Sorry, I'm getting a tickly throat. And then 5 of them stand around him and kick him on the floor and get sent off and they kill him.
Yeah.
You realise what kind of game you're playing. And
I had a star player. The last game when we were at the murder house with a bunch. Yeah. And then we rolled for the pre-game, what the fans are doing at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there I am playing against Joe, I think it was. And one of the fans had slipped him a stiletto and he stabbed my star player to death. A high crit before the game even begun.
Yeah. Joe plays
Like,
gnomes
stab,
as well.
dead, done. It's like, oh,
You get stabbed by a gnome.
I forget, was it Joe? Oh no, it was Mikey P.
Oh, Mikey
The
P.
evil incarnate himself. Yeah, he stabbed my star player.
Mikey P is evil. He plays all the cheat. He plays all the elves and stuff.
Elves. Yeah.
Disgusting. But I
Blood Bowl
honestly,
is one of the
I thoroughly recommend Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl is up there.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest games ever, and so is Talisman for a board game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so 8th edition is the best incarnation. Not best is a subjective thing.
We could go into that another time.
8th edition is the cleanest, most accessible, fun version of 40k that they've ever released.
Yes.
Heresy 2.0 is just quite frankly a stunning war game to play.
Yeah.
A battlefield comes alive, which leaves us with the 5th option. And when you said some of the greatest games of ever, it's Space Hulk number 5. It's got to be. Space Hulk is just brilliant. How many board games have come out of Space Hulk? How many video games have come out of Space Hulk? The whole Tyranid range came out of Space Hulk. Completely original IP. I think the number 5 is Space Hulk.
Space Hulk is fun. I love it. I love playing it with a friend, and I love being the gene stealers and trying to trick them and everything. No, it's not in the top 5 because that's Necromunda First Edition. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. That's the ultimate top 5 as
That's not
declared by the champion, by the authority on the subject.
Who?
I really hope you've enjoyed watching this. Has anyone even heard of Talisman?
Is anyone still here?
Is anyone still here? No. Let's be honest. All the games are the best. Playing games is a great thing to do. You know, forget about work. Throw down your tools. Go out there and play a game. You know, if your favourite game is
getting naked, smothering yourself in marmalade and playing Twister,
then that's in the top 5 too. My dinner's ready, so I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone and go have some beef hash and giant couscous with feta cheese.
And write in the comment section down below what you think is the best game that Games Workshop has ever produced. Happy wargaming.
Yeah, and it's Blood Bowl, so
maybe edit that.
All right, thank you. Sorry, happy.
It's not what?
Do the ending again. Say happy wargaming. I'll stop it. All right.
And then Necromunda is a big pile of pants, and it's